investing in supply chain and logistics companies. Well, joining us today to speak about that, Harpinder Singh, Managing Partner at Innovation Endeavors. Harpy, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Good to see you, Russell. Thank you for having me.
Harpy, I think it's probably fair to say that somebody out there may not be entirely familiar with Innovation Endeavors and just what it does. So walk us through that for just a moment. Talk to us about the company. What's its area? What's its focus?
Absolutely. So Innovation Endeavors is an early stage venture fund. We are based in Palo Alto, right outside Stanford. And we were started about 14, 15 years ago by Eric Schmidt while he was the Google CEO and one of my other partners. And since the very beginning, we focus on applying emerging technologies to big physical world problems. So we invest in two areas. One is automation and compute, applied to areas like supply chain and logistics, life sciences, transportation, climate. And second is around enterprise infrastructure. So enabling technologies to make all this happen. So areas like machine learning, supply chain, cyber security, data infrastructure, and so on. And we are primarily early stage investors. So that means seed and Series A. So we like to get involved early, help founders with go-to-market, product market fit, pricing, areas like that.
Interesting focus for the venture company. Now, a question is a little something about your own self. Let's talk about your experience in supply chain, in logistics, in those industries. What would you say? Walk us through that.
So my experience has mostly been as an engineer and a founder. So I was a software engineer. I grew up in India, had come to the US for grad school, and then I was a software engineer for 4 years. And then I was a founder of two companies, one in the wireless infrastructure space and second one in data analytics, where we were actually selling to the large CPGs. And at Innovation Endeavors, we've invested in supply chain companies for a long time. So we've invested in companies like Gatic, which is doing middle mile autonomy, Afresh, which is working with large grocers, Third Wave Automation, which is doing autonomous forklifts, Clear Metal. So we've a long history of investing in supply chain and logistics.
Now tell me, is it so that you are also a professor at Stanford?
Yes, I'm on the faculty, so I teach at the Stanford Business School. I teach a couple of entrepreneurship classes.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me, how is it that you became involved with Innovation Endeavors? I believe you said that this was a company that was founded, or at least co-founded by Eric Schmidt at some point.
Yeah.
How did you come to be involved with that?
So Innovation Endeavors was an investor in my second company, Slice Technologies. So we were one of the early investments that Innovation Endeavors made. So I was a portfolio founder for a long time. And then after we got acquired, I ended up joining on the investing team.
So Harvey, we want to talk about investing in supply chain and logistics companies. And I guess the threshold question for you would be, how is it that you choose what investments to make in these particular spaces? What would you say?
So we like big problems. We like teams that are thinking about how to have a large impact on emerging problems. So areas like labor shortage, areas like automation, and so on. So we are primarily very driven by the team and what their size of their vision is. And secondly, we are looking for, is there an opportunity to apply data, compute, emerging technology to one of the big physical world problems and make a disproportionate impact.
So the company doesn't necessarily have to be something that's been around quite a while and have some vintage to it. It can be a relatively new startup.
Yeah, we exactly like the opposite, which is we want to meet companies at the very earliest stages. We want to help them get going, and we want to be there as they grow.
And I'm just curious, do you vet, so to speak? Do you investigate, if you will, the persons that are involved in that particular company to see what their background is, what they bring to that particular enterprise? Would that be fair to say?
It's all about that. So it's finding the right founder for the right problem and our ability to catalyze that, our ability to help there. So you could have the best problem, but not the right team. So we are trying to intersect those three things.
And how often is it just the opposite? You're not looking at a particular company, but rather someone comes to you and says, we would be interested, we would like to convince you that we would be a good investment. Does that happen?
So we are generally very thesis-driven investors. So we like to build a prepared mind. We try to be proactive about the areas that we are keen about. and we go and sort of try to learn everything about that space. We talk to the heads of supply chain at large companies all the time. We try to learn about what are the biggest problems you're trying to solve over the next 24 months. So we build a prepared mind in certain areas. So that's where we are looking for companies. But you're right. Every now and then we have people who come to us and say, hey, we're thinking about this, and that may be in our area or it may be adjacent, and we are usually very open to that.
You know, I got the impression a moment ago that you don't start with looking at a particular startup, but rather there is a problem that you think needs to be addressed or that you think is interesting. It intrigues you some kind of way, and you look to see who might be attempting to address that.
Yes.
Is that more or less the process?
Yeah. That's how we typically operate. We are investigating a few areas and we try to meet everybody around those areas. But as you said, we can't predict innovation.
Sure.
Right? Good opportunities come to us all the time, and we like to have an open mind. And we believe that we have done enough work in the past to kind of get up to speed on these areas. So we are very, very, again, thesis driven, but also very open to creative founders coming to us with new problems.
If I were to come to you and say, what are the most attractive targets right now for this type of investment that we're talking about, what would you tell me?
Like what type of domains
Yeah.
are we thinking about? So there's lots of problems to be solved in supply chain logistics, as we've seen in the last 2-3 years. I'll talk about maybe a couple that I am focused on right now. One is around the theme of labor shortage and automation. So we have 80,000 drivers less than we need. I think Amazon said that they may not be able to hire enough workers in the warehouse in 2024. So those are big problems. So we are looking for solutions, whether it's robotics, automation, efficiency, that will kind of change the curve, that will bend the curve on these problems. So we like that theme. Secondly, one of the areas I'm quite keen on is the densification of supply chain networks. So everybody is trying to get closer to the customer. You know, it was 2 days, then it was 1 day, it's 2 hour, whatever. So what that means is people are pushing out their nodes and their warehouses closer to the customer. So what's the implication of that? You know, where do I keep the inventory? Where do I fulfill out of? And so on. So I'm thinking about what are the downstream implications of this, and trying to invest in companies that are making this whole reconfiguration of supply chain networks possible. Another area I'm investigating right now is scenario planning. And what I mean by that is, you know, there was a COVID shock, there's inflation, and there's trade wars. So things are always changing. You know, fuel prices are up or down, or labor shortages. So we find that many heads of supply chain, are trying to get their arms around, okay, how do I be prepared? What scenario should I think about? Can I tweak this variable, and how about the other two? So I'm looking for, and there's really not been much innovation in this space, so I'm looking for companies that are helping supply chain leaders address that.
Well, this is a vital area, and you are doing some very, very interesting work. Now, be prepared that thousands of people will see this video, and it is not at all inconceivable. Somebody may decide to reach out to you and be one of those people who says, we have something exciting, we have something important, we want to talk to you about investing. Be prepared for that.
Oh, we are always excited to meet new teams. I'm always excited about learning from people who are on the ground doing stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Call us.
Great. Harpinder Singh, thank you so very much for finding the time to speak with us here at this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Russell. It's been a pleasure.
That's Harpinder Singh, Innovation Endeavor, speaking with us today about investing in supply chain and logistics companies. Thanks for watching.